Today on the table, I brought you the Taurus 1911 and the Shield 2.0 45. Both firearms are chambered in 45. The Taurus, you're looking at about a $57 price split over the Shield. You're looking at $57 more for the Taurus. Weight, the 1911 is definitely a heavier firearm. It is also longer, fatter, and taller, even with the magazines out. Now with this particular extended magazine, it's the same capacity as the 1911, 8+1. You can, however, run a smaller magazine in the Shield, making the whole firearm more compact, easier to carry. The 1911, this is as small as it's ever going to get, even with a flush magazine. Trigger brake. The Taurus 1911. Brake's alright. But what you'd expect out of a single action, if I would have a 1911, I would expect a little bit more. Unfortunately, this backstrap safety is really hard, so it makes it hard to get a really clean, precise brake. Shield. Brakes like absolute crap. You get a lot of movement in the front sight, but that's pretty much normal with the Shield lineup. Even the 2.0s, they just suck. I'm told you could go to the Performance Center and get a slightly better trigger. But yeah, out of the box, without a doubt, the Taurus 1911 is a far superior trigger brake to the Shield. When you purchase the two firearms, with the Taurus 1911, you're going to get a very nice hard case. Hinged in the back, hinged in the front. Exactly what I'd like to see, especially for a 1911, because for me, that's more of something I would use on the range. That wouldn't necessarily be a carry gun for me. It's got a very nice foam cutout for the firearm. Your tool for disassembling it. Range flag. Owner's manual. With your Shield, you just get a cardboard box. Now, unlike the 1911, you do get an extra magazine, so you can make the Shield two different sizes. Then you get your owner's manual, range flag, and a gun lock. The actual magazine quality between the two, I do kind of feel that the Taurus is a better quality. Just the metal, it's kind of hard to explain. The metal on the Smith & Wesson just feels chintzy. It's kind of got some drag when the magazine gets pushed down. So I definitely think the Taurus is a better quality magazine. The 1911 is a single action, so obviously it's going to have a better trigger brake. But the 1911 does have some downsides. It's a single action. So you can either run cocked and locked, that's where the hammer back on safety, round in the chamber, or you can run like hammer down with a round in the chamber, which I don't recommend doing. I've actually seen somebody shoot a firearm like this trying to set down the trigger on a 1911. Yeah, it would be difficult to do, but it can happen. I mean, you're literally putting it in a dangerous condition. So let's say you're in your car or something and you want to set the hammer down, you put a hole in the floor or in your house, wherever. Or you can go without a round in the chamber. And then you can just dry fire it. To have an empty chamber, and then when you want to use it, cock it up, let the round in the chamber. So it's kind of limiting on options. The Shield, you can get this with or without a safety. So you can run a round in the chamber, a round not in the chamber, or you can run round in the chamber on safety, which this particular safety, the 9mm Shield, this is more gated, and it's almost impossible to put the safety on without being deliberate. This one you can swipe on, so that is something you're going to want to be aware of. But coming off, good to go. Because the last thing you want to do is draw your firearm assuming the safety's off, be in a panic, pull a trigger on a safety, and then everything goes to shit. Takedown, without a doubt, the Shield is far easier. Just rock this little lever down, send the slide forward, dry fire it, it disassembles. The 1911, there's almost like an artwork to this. You got to take out the bushing, then this lever right here comes off. It's a real pain in the ass. Sights, they're pretty much equal. I mean, they're very similar. But the 1911, you do have a longer sight radius. As far as overall looks, I do think the 1911 is a far sexier firearm, but I just like the way they look. Now, comparing this against other 1911s, I'm not really a fan of this particular one. I'll explain why at the end of the video. This particular shield does have a laser sight on it. It's a great training aid, but actually trying to use it as a sight, I've had no luck at all. I just have troubles picking up the dot, so it drastically slows me down. I'd much rather have open sights. Now, you can get an even cheaper shield if you went without the laser sight, so that is something to be aware of. The 1911 has a ramped frame. What that means, here, let me take apart the shield real quick. So, alright, you see the ramp right there on the barrel? It reduces the angle the round's got to go up in, and it typically gives you more reliability out of your firearm. And that's important because, well, I'm just guessing here, this is an actual fact, but from the experience I've gathered, it seems like a 45, unless it's in a big heavy firearm like an FNX 45 Tactical, a full-size Glock, something like that, I believe it's because the cartridge is so heavy and it's so big in diameter, they usually have feeding issues. Like my XDS. If I keep that clean and the slide velocity can stay high, it works just fine. As it starts getting dirty, like somewhere around 100 rounds, it starts having malfunctions and it needs to be cleaned again. Once I clean it, runs 100% reliable again. Like I said, I'm guessing it's because of the weight of the cartridge and everything. So you gotta have a big heavy slide or high slide velocity anyway to make it feed reliably. Anyway, with the 1911, it's got a ramp frame. So the cartridge has got to go up on this crazy steep angle. So a lot of these have issues. The slide comes back, hits the cartridge, and then the magazine tips forward and the round nosedives. Or it stovepipes when it ejects. Usually you can only run like 230 ball in a 1911. If you try to run like 185 and stuff, you have malfunctions. And a lot of that has to do with the crazy angle it's got to climb to make it up that feed ramp. Now, both these firearms should be relatively reliable when it comes to feeding, because they both have anti-tilt followers in the magazine, which like I said before, I believe that's very important with a 45 just because of the mass of the cartridge, and it has a tendency to nosedive. But pretending these are both, equally reliable, what would I pick? Well, to be honest, without a doubt, if I'm going to carry the firearm, it would be the shield. Just because it's lighter, it's smaller, it can fit in a smaller package, and I'm more likely to carry it. And the whole idea behind a 45 is more of a fashion statement anyway. Yeah, you get a bigger hole, but I mean, really with 9mm you get higher capacity, lighter firearm, and from my personal experience, this may or may not be true, better reliability. So if these are the only two options for carrying, without a doubt, it would be the shield. Now, for a range toy or something like that, because of the drastically better trigger that the Taurus 1911 has, this would be much funner. I wouldn't want to carry this. I mean, I don't like the setup, not a 1911 guy, and if I want a 1911, I'm not going to reach for it for, a combat pistol. That's not what I got in mind. I get it, the people that like 1911s, because you want to shoot what you're good at. If you're awesome with a 1911, you have crazy experience behind it, why change? For myself, a 1911 would have to be something from World War II, or it'd have to be some super pretty Gucci 1911 that all looks just beautiful and I want to cry every time I hold it. Because for me, a 1911 is more of a showpiece, like a sword or something like that. Yeah, it's an effective weapon, there's no doubt about that, but because there's just so many better options out there, for example this, same exact capacity, same exact cartridge in a much smaller, lighter package. FNX 45 Tactical, you basically double the capacity, I mean not quite, but double the capacity, then you have an accessory rail for a light, it's got a threaded barrel, night sights, etc, etc, etc. So for me, I would not pick this unless I'm already a 1911 fan, I already have my carry gun, and I'm just looking for something to thrash on. Or if I'm going to give it away to somebody that wants to be a 1911 fan. For concealed carry, without a doubt, the Shield would win. I mean, this is a decent firearm to carry. So, you really got to look at what you want to use the firearm for if you're debating between these two. For carry, without a doubt, I recommend the Shield. For something to just totally beat on, I recommend the Taurus 1911. If you'd like to check out any of my other videos, click one of these cards. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.